Good afternoon and welcome back to our coverage of the 2024 Pelligra South Australian Open. We are at the absolute business pointy end of the tournament after 2.5 days out in the sun and in the wind and in the heat. We are here at the women's gold medal game. My name is Nathan Wombat McLeod and it's my pleasure to bring you coverage from wherever you're tuning in around Australia or indeed the world. I'm joined in this game as my revolving door of co-commentators continues to... Let's see how I do about this. I was thinking about this before. Many times South Australian Open champion, many times Australian champion, many times Asian champion, Olympian, back-to-back Commonwealth Games gold medalist, all-round nice guy, Chris McHugh. Chris, welcome. How'd I go? Did I miss anything?
Oh, thanks for having me firstly, Wombat. To be honest, I don't even know on the first two, the Australian Championships and SA Open Championships. I think I am behind the great man standing under the VIP tent over there in Andrew Schott. I think he's the highest number of SA Open wins, and I think by his recollection, you always got to take this with a bit of mayo, but I think he's at 8 or 9. So,
so like 3.
Yeah.
But welcome, it's good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's been an amazing day down here at Glenelg. The sun's out finally. We haven't really had a summer here in Adelaide so far, so this is the first real patch of hot weather that we've had, and what a weekend to have it, the SA Open, the longest running beach volleyball tournament in Australia.
Certainly is, and haven't we had summer arrive in a big way? We had an absolute stinker, 35 degrees on Friday, while these teams were battling it out through qualification. And then we had a pretty warm day yesterday, but a little bit of cloud cover and some breeze, and that gave the players a bit of relief. But today it's back to kind of pretty warm and not a consistent breeze, a bit blowy, it's a bit gusty, so not a huge amount of relief for our players.
Yeah, the wind's kind of coming up a little bit. It's been blowing from the east, and it's kind of swinging around to that southeast. So, for the viewers at home, the left-hand side of the screen is the bad end, I guess, and the right end of the screen is the good end. So you want to really see the girls here ripping their serve into the breeze, and it's definitely an advantage to start down there during this match. It has been a fantastic weekend, as you said. It's been some really hot weather, but it's people have come out in droves this weekend. The Tour Down Under started down in Glenelg yesterday. It's brought a really fun vibe to Glenelg Beach, and with the many different divisions playing today, there's some really young kids. There's the under 15s playing the 3-a-side, which is really cool to see. I haven't seen that before. It hasn't been around for that long, and to then go the Div 2 and Div 3. So the future's bright for volleyball in South Australia, and happy to see that we are progressing as a state, and it's really exciting. Yeah,
it certainly is. And I think one thing that's been really noticeable this year is we had a pretty big bump from teams from the last couple of years, and the standard overall across Division 1, 2 and 3 has been really high up there. And like you, Hughie, I was watching some of those 3-a-side teams earlier today, and I was so impressed with the ball control. And I remember, looking at under 15 teams 5-10 years ago, and it was dig over, dig over. I was looking at kids throwing up jump serves, dig, set, spiking, and just thinking, how cool is this to have under 15-year-olds just have the skill set to be able to do actual volleyball, which is so different to what we've seen 10 years ago, which is so exciting.
Yeah, I think it's a great credit to Volleyball South Australia and the South Australian Sports Institute that the development program in South Australia has really come along great. I mean, I was watching before, and the boys tried to run an A-B combo, which didn't quite work out, but it's fun to see them try new things.
It's not something you see on beach often.
Nah, it's great. And but as we said, beach volleyball is consistently growing in Australia, and it is the second most participated sport in the world, besides soccer. And I think Australia is just waking up to the fact that we play such an amazing game in such an amazing venue such as Glenelg Beach.
That's right, and I think it's only going to get more exciting with the World Champs for beach volleyball being held here in Adelaide in 2025. So that's really, really exciting next year. So anyway, we better get on to this game because we're about to see athletes come onto court, and we're just chatting away about how amazing our sport is here in SA and indeed Australia. But before we do introduce the athletes out on the court, we should welcome and congratulate our officials on their appointment to this women's gold medal game. So our second referee all the way from South Australia is Kaylee Taylor Risson, and our top referee sporting the amazing blue VSA bucket hat is Rebecca Felstark. And we should also introduce you to the teams that are the main event. So in our blue tops, we're going to have the combination of Steph Wheeler and Lucia Mikulovakova, who are our top seeds moving into the tournament. And in the red tops, Taryn Angermeyer and Lucy Sarova, which slotted in with our international wildcard at seed number 6, but have had a cracking tournament. So Sarova with the ball in hand to start things off in this women's gold medal game of the 2024 SA Open.
Oh, tough serve there to start the game. A little laser down the right-hand sideline of Steph Wheeler there. Steph, the tallest player on court by fair whack here. I'd expect her to have a really important impact on the game here with the block. But also attacking can be quite hard to defend.
Just missing that sideline. 1-all in this first set, tidying things up. Now, if you are new to beach volleyball, the way it's going to work is we are going to play best of 3 sets. The first 2 sets are going to be first to 21. You must have a 2-point lead at that point, though. And in those sets, we're going to change ends every 7 points, just to make sure sun and wind are the same for both teams. As we see Angermeyer just fire that ball a little bit long over the baseline. Now, if we do have to go to a third set, we're going to be a race to 15, and we're going to change ends every 5 points in that third set. And hopefully we've only seen 2 setters so far in the first 2 bronze games. We're really keen to see the match go the distance, as Angermeyer uses that block of Wheeler and just collecting the top of her hands and just pushing it over the top.
Yeah, Steph really pushing into some airspace there. She is a large, tall girl.
Good correction there, Hughie.
Thank you. She also just about to start a new job at Brighton High this year, teaching the next generation of volleyball athletes in South Australia. Sends Steph back to the baseline down the northern end of the beach. Steph, of course, has been an integral part of the indoor women's team for a long time, and has transitioned from both indoor back to beach and beach back to indoor over the last couple of years. So she's having a fantastic little run of results here in South Australia, in the South Australian Beach Volleyball Tour, I believe, in the last couple of events. And she's really showing that she's in form. Oh, just missing the sideline there. That brings us to our ends at 5-2. Our team in blue up 5-2. It's a good start to the match here. It's pretty even. I think it's a bit more even than the score would suggest.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. And I think it's probably worth pointing out we've got a bit of an international flavour on centre court for this women's gold. Steph Wheeler, the local, originally hailing from Victoria but now lives in SA, so we do claim her as one of our own. But her partner, Lucia Mikulovakova from Slovenia, Taryn Angermeyer on the other side of the court from the United States, and her partner Lucy Sarova from the Czech Republic. So a bit of everyone all over the place. Taryn and Lucy residing in Victoria, coming over for the weekend.
Yeah, I think that really just highlights how international beach volleyball is and how everybody around the world loves the sport. I mean, you can't come to a better country than Australia and play beach volleyball.
Certainly not. And a bit of as we just see that one, just not being able to control past the block. It's a bit of a probably unknown fact, and you'd be able to talk to this more than anyone, but people probably don't really realise at that professional level, beach volleyball is often not played on beaches around the world. It's just played in car parks or middle of the city, wherever they can dump some sand. So I think it's something that we take for granted here in Australia a little bit, is we have these amazing beaches to actually play beach volleyball on.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I guess going into my 16th season on the FIVB World Tour, a lot of the tournaments really are all in tennis centres. The dimensions of a beach volleyball court are very similar to a tennis court, and so they just dump that half a metre of sand on top, and like we're going to do in the World Championships here in 2025 at Memorial Drive. So you play a lot in. We've even played in Zurich in the train station there indoors. Where there's a lot of people and you can fit a court. It's always a good recipe for a great tournament.
I know you've played at various locations around the world. Paris, I know you've played in Roland Garros before. And what do you think's the most memorable location you've played?
I think I kind of topped it off with my my first ever international trip under 19s with one of the greats of Australian indoor volleyball, Harry Peacock. We were lucky enough to be selected to go to Bermuda as our first trip for under 19s. I think we were a little bit too young to really appreciate the beauty of the place.
I was going to say that feels super dangerous.
But that would be right up there. And then in more recent times, I'd just love to play Switzerland in Stade is just an unbelievable location. You're in the Swiss Alps. There's snow-capped peaks all around you. I don't think you're going to get better than that. As Steph Wheeler serves a dribbler ace, a sorry not sorry, and follows it up with a deep serve down the middle to bring up 10-4 in the end. That's a really big end for the girls here. To win those points down the bad end are just like pure gold. You can't underestimate how big those points will be come the back end of the set.
No, and you mentioned the bad end. For those watching at home, we are looking at a little bit of a breeze that's blowing left to right on your screens. Now, as beach volleyballers, we love to have that breeze blowing into our face. We love to be able to get up, crank those serves, crank the hits up, and being able to hit with some topspin with that confidence that the wind's going to grab that ball and drag it down into court. The wind here at the moment is a little bit inconsistent. It's a bit gusty, so at the moment it feels very still out here, but then things can change very quickly and all of a sudden you can be hitting into a bit of a breeze. So there is certainly a good and bad end, but it's just about how good it is when you're down there.
Oh, it just depends who you ask. If you ask Craig Marshall, there's the great frog, men's beach volleyball coach, there is no bad end, it's just in your head. But as Steph Wheeler is really exerting her dominance on this game, 5 points in a row to Steph Wheeler to bring up 13-4, 2 blocks, 2 aces, and forcing an error long. I don't think you can ask more from a player.
No, it's certainly very, very solid. And no, a lot of these players, Lucy Sarova, a little bit of an exception in being her first summer in Australia, but everyone else certainly very familiar about being at the SA Open and out here on Super Sunday. I think all the other players have had at least kind of 3 or 4 SA Open appearances, all made to Super Sunday. Steph Wheeler has actually taken out the title a couple of times before, back in 2016 with Bakara Palmer, and more recently 2020 with Britt Kendall. So has had a couple of titles to her name. Everyone else fighting for their first opportunity to get their name on that trophy.
And yeah, look, SA Open is one of the... You look back at your career and you want to win an SA Open. It's right up there with the Australian Championships or Queensland Championships. I mean, nobody really wants to win a Victorian Championships from South Australia anyway, but
I think there's a lot of people that have. I think we've won a couple, and taking their trophy back away from Victoria is pretty satisfying.
Steph Wheeler starts us back after the timeout. She's really applying a lot of pressure there with her float serve as she puts away the overset with authority.
Just a little bit. Our team in red, the combination of Taryn Angermeyer and Lucy Sarova, looking at the moment probably a little bit shell-shocked. I think certainly not the start they were expecting of being, almost bullied on court by the Steph Wheeler serve and dominance at the net.
Yeah. I guess as Lucy, he's just standing there going, here you go, let's set the ball and go to work, Steph Wheeler. That breeze is just a little bit gusty at the moment. Oh, Steph, hard on the sharp angle. Really impressive hit there from Steph. And the girls in orange really not having too many answers right now.
No, certainly. It's not necessarily through lack of trying. I don't really think that the combination of Wheeler and Mikulovikova has actually given them a huge opportunity to get into the game and have any attack.
No, it's been like a vault so far. They haven't been able to crack anything. As we go to the technical timeout at 16-5, But how many times in tournaments do you see that the first set's been a little bit of a blowout, the second set, the other team comes back, and that third set is always a bit of a twinkle?
That's right, and we've certainly seen it a lot in this tournament as well. It's in the way beach volleyball tournaments work is you certainly don't play everyone to progress through. It's not like a tennis tournament where you play everyone and one by one you go through. It's more like a soccer World Cup or a cricket World Cup where you start in pools and you might play one or two teams in the pool before you progress through. So sometimes, especially if it's not teams that they necessarily have seen much of, and Lucy is a prime example out here that both Steph and Lucy Mikulovikova wouldn't have seen a lot of Sarova, so they would all be trying to suss out a little bit of what they look like, and that's why sometimes those first sets can get a little bit out of hand before they can reflect and think, well, this might work, let's adjust that fractionally.
I guess also being in your first SA Open, the nerves are high, and so just spending that first set to really just settle in and become that composed player that you usually are, as Steph crushes the ball to go 16-6 up. Serving again down the windward end of the beach.
Just clearing a ball that's come over from one of the back courts.
As Lucy's all over that dig, transition. Just shoots it a little bit long there. Great opportunity again in transition. They seem to just be gelling really well. I don't think that they've played too much together, but
no, they're
very experienced players individually.
Yeah, they certainly have, and they played. I did actually have a look leading into this game because I thought they've both been around the Australian scene for so long and at the absolute top level of the Australian beach tour, but I thought, I wonder if they've ever played together. They have only come together very recently. The first leg of the Australian beach volleyball tour in Geelong in November, so late last year, the first event of the summer, they played and they got a fifth in that, and that was their first event. So this is only their second event together, but it looks like they've been playing together for years.
They certainly do, as Steph makes that pull dig down the line, and as you'd expect, just pushes it a little bit wide there, going a little bit too much on that sharp angle. I think she's getting a little bit. I'm in the groove. I'm in the time to really try and bury that ball a little bit too sharp on the sand. I know I've been guilty of that once or twice, Wombat.
I've been guilty of trying to hit the back meter, which is about the same. It's all relative from your attack height.
As Lucy, the first real error of the game for Lucy there, hitting error into the bottom of the net. Brings us back to 9-17. It's a definite change of strategy here. The girls in orange were serving Steph early. Now have switched, made the switch, producing.
They did stay on Steph for a long time though, and
maybe a little bit longer than they needed to be honest.
I think so. She was certainly playing quite well and terminating the ball a lot. I am surprised that we didn't see a switch away from her sooner rather than later.
It's always a lot easier from the outside to be making these calls, as I've experienced in my career. That people are always, why didn't you do this? I was like, oh, didn't really think about it until you told me. But I guess that's the beauty of beach volleyball. It's the awareness. It's the fact that there is no coaching on court, that you have to make those calls.
I think that's a great thing, and I think that's one thing I really enjoy about beach volleyball, and I enjoy it about tennis as well. It is all about you and the other team out there, and you have to think your way through it. And as a coach, it is really challenging because you have to not only teach your team and your players about technique and things like that, you actually got to teach them how to analyze situations and think through things as well, which is a much bigger challenge, and I think something that's really, really exciting.
As Steph Wheeler brings up her second ace in a row to take the first set, 21-9. She really dominated that set, Wombat. But as you were talking about, I think at the highest level, everybody can play, everybody's got their skills, but the thing that really differentiates the really good players from just the okay players is that mental, emotional stability and just that ability to stay calm, cool and collected no matter what the situation is in the game and the opportunities that present themselves in the game to then go and take them.
That's right. And I think recognising, I mean, you can go into any game with a plan A, B and maybe even a C, but it's recognising, well, that's not really working. We're going to have to change something drastically, and it's about understanding what's not working and what you can change. And I think that's probably the point that Taryn Angermeyer and Lucy Sarova are at now, thinking, all right, what we came out here with the plan of doing isn't working. We've tried to adjust a few things, that hasn't worked. Where do we go from here? What do we look at? What would you be expecting to see from them as they come out and start this second set?
Yeah, I'm sure they're sitting in their timeout right now, just trying to collect their thoughts, take that deep breath and go, okay, we need to just settle down a little bit in the outside out, but then also I'd expect them to go after Lucy a little bit more this set, test her out a bit more. They got rewarded for it late in that first set. As we do thank our sponsors, Volleyball South Australia, Pelligra, South Australian Open, Derrim at Gyms, Valor,
Physio Extra are certainly down here, keeping all of our athletes fit and healthy.
I may have to go down and see the Physio Extra tent just after this, after sitting down for a while, mate.
I think they've only got 3 staff, so there's not enough people to fix up all the problems that you have, Eugene.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the very few athletes that have maxed out their private health insurance on the Physio Extra front. But they do provide a great service to Volleyball in South Australia, and if you have any ailments at all, would highly recommend them. As we start our set again.
So Lucy Sarova, ball in hand. We're starting exactly as we did in the first. And that would be an infuriating way to start that second set if you were Taryn Angermeyer and Lucy Sarova.
When that happens, sometimes it's just not your day.
No.
And it definitely feels like the momentum is certainly still on the northern end of the beach side. Oh, Steph Wheeler just absolutely monstering that ball over the net.
And that's sometimes one of the big challenges when you've got a slightly shorter team coming up against a blocker like someone like Steph Wheeler. She can reach over the net so far that you've got to actually keep that set really off the net, which is really challenging.
And it does limit, to some extent, your attacking abilities.
That's right.
As Steph gets another really good touch on that block. Many players now, I guess you can call it in the male game, the Anders Mole effect, that the game is now started to go very much to the hitting on 2, spread offence, much faster offence than traditional beach volleyball, purely because Anders Mole, the Olympic gold medalist, world champion, is such a dominant player on the court in blocking.
And I think one of the things that people might not necessarily realise straight away if they are new to watching beach volleyball is because there's only 2 of you playing and there's 3 contacts, unless you're hitting on 2 or doing any of that fast dynamic attack, whoever passes that first ball is going to be the one attacking on 3. So as a blocker, right from the set, if you know who your partner's going to serve, you actually know who's going to attack, so you can line yourself up right on that player right from the get-go. So I think for someone like Steph Wheeler with her height and reach at the net, it becomes really challenging if as a receiver you know, well, I'm going to have to pass this serve and then I'm going to have to work out how to get past someone with the length and the reach like Steph Wheeler.
As Steph Wheeler serves the hubby wife down the middle, yours, mine, no one. That is, what, her 7th ace for the match? She's having a blinder. Great dig by Lucy there. And clinical put away.
I know she's retired from playing indoor and beach, but she might be having some conversations after this game, I think.
I think the Australian coach may be giving her a slight call here, tap on the shoulder. She definitely hasn't lost anything in her brief retirement so far.
No, certainly not.
And there's a little bit of finesse from Steph. She's got everything. She's got the power. She's got the finesse. As we switch at 6-1, it's a great end to start the second set.
Making it work and making fantastic volleyball. The team in red needing a side
And the team in red, Angermeyer and Sorova, would be saying, look, let's just get one pass, we'll get a good attack, let's just see what we can do about getting this side out and then starting to build our own offense.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point there that you have to really settle into your side-out game so that then you can really take the risk. As Steph Wheeler goes long with the on-one pull dig, just really wanted to get that ball as far away from her as possible. But if you're siding out a solid rate, usually international standard, you're looking for that 75 to 80% side-out rate. It allows you to go back to the baseline in conditions like this and really go after your serve, rip it, and cause a bit of mayhem on the other side as a gust of wind comes as she serves the ball.
And I think that's one thing that I'm sure Taryn and Lucy would have spoken about at the end of that first set. The fact that them just going back and hitting targets with their serve hasn't been super effective, and we've seen really consistent side out from our team in blue, and in particular Steph Wheeler. So I think they would be giving themselves a bit more permission to go after some serves, making some errors, knowing that, well, that's going to put them under a bit more pressure of having to make a play. And we see exactly that, hitting that sideline and actually making that dive and that play, and picks up a very nice little ace.
It's about negating, I guess, the strengths of the other team here, and Steph's definite strength is attacking prowess, height above the net, and so you can get it off the net, or preferably not at the net at all, then that's a win for your team. So it really brings it back to 7-4 here. Lucy back to serve.
It's on two and it's gone long, but I do like the idea. I think going on two, I would like to see it with a little bit of an inverse there. I would like to see it when Steph Wheeler's serving, having to do the trek from that service line into the net. I think that would just put a bit more pressure onto her, but I like the on two.
It is really hard as a blocker to hit your serve and sprint to the net in time for the second contact. I know jump serving, it's even harder. Most of the time you're either jumping in the air from 3 meters off the net to try and affect the play. But good to see the initiative from Lucy, or not Lucy, from Lucy and Taryn. Sorry, there is two Lucys on the court. I'm getting myself confused. I am not the Damien Schumann of commentating, clearly. Well, Steph Wheeler just trying to be a little bit too cute there, a little bit too tricky with her play. Switching at 8-6 up.
Much better set for Taryn Angermeyer and Lucy Sorova at this point in time. Feeling much more connected to the game. We can see all of a sudden just putting Mikulovikova and Wheeler under a bit of pressure, just getting them not as comfortable as they have looked.
I think after that 6-1 end, your aim, you sit down, as a team, you just want to keep winning an end. If you keep just winning one end after another, you're going to claw yourself back into the game, and I think that's just what they're trying to do right now. They won the last end. A great side out there from Wheeler and Lucy. It's a bit of an errant set there. I think the wind's starting to pick up and really affect the flight of the ball.
I think you're right. A real scrambly point, just to see that wind just kind of blowing the ball around a little bit, getting it out of position, and both teams just struggling to get a good, consistent three-point play on it. But just that overset, just giving Steph Wheeler the opportunity she needs to put the ball to the sand.
And commentator's curse, just jinxing Steph into a service error there. Brings us to 10-7. That wind really picking up from the east, southeasterly. It's a bit strange for Adelaide, really.
It's been a bit weird the whole weekend. Friday we had a very traditional breeze here, which is normally up and down the beach, which we tend to know. And then yesterday we were actually quite lucky because we were sheltered from it, but it actually came from shore side, so it kind of came from over the pier and over the beach house, and it was a very weird direction for the wind to blow down here. But luckily, all the buildings kept it quite calm out here.
I mean, it's a positive and a negative in many respects in that situation where, yes, it's not as breezy, but as a player on court, you are baking in the South Australian sun.
Yes, absolutely. I think we were very fortunate yesterday. We had a bit of cloud cover, which kept at least the sand was a bit cooler. But on Friday, by the time it hit about 2 o'clock, it was just walking to your court. Players were asking to have paths kind of watered down just to even get to their court, let alone on court.
And that's just a rite of passage in Australian beach volleyball, isn't it?
If you haven't had the bottom of your feet burnt, you're not a player. As Steph Wheeler just closes that door enormously.
I think that would slam the door in your face.
Yes.
Wombat, that was a massive block. Yeah, it's playing down the courts in Siberia, as we like to call them, down in near the Pier Hotel on the other end of the beach. It's a long trek down there.
It certainly is. We had teams down there all day yesterday, all day Friday. That ball just sailing long. It's going to be 14-7 as we move to that technical timeout.
In the second set here, the gold medal match of the Pelligra SA Open. The winner of this set potentially could be our SA Open champions for 2024.
Certainly could be. And I think it's been, I mean, this year I think it's worth pointing out we've had an absolute bumper crop of teams. Not only local teams, we've had more local teams enter, but we've had a huge amount of interstate teams, and I think we've really had teams travelling from everywhere. We've had a few Queensland teams come down. We've had a heap of New South Wales teams, and a big shout out to the New South Wales Phoenix program, who came over here in a big way and had a development camp here at Sassy in the lead up to it. So shout out to Chris Todd and the crew who've come over and brought an enormous amount of teams with them. Our usual contingent from Victoria, and we've even had some WA teams travel over, which has been really exciting. So we really have had everyone from all over Australia kind of converge on Glenelg Beach, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time since we've had so many teams travel, like many years, and so I think the resurgence of beach volleyball in Australia is continuing, and it's really great to see that people are willing to travel and support other state opens.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Steph
Just
not quite pressing over the net there. She definitely had it. She just didn't quite reach over far enough and got caught doing the old windscreen wipers above the court.
That's right. Not quite concentrating as much as she would have liked to, I think.
Oh, the net dribbler ace straight out of the technical timeout. Takes us to 9-14. I feel like that score's wrong, but I may be wrong here, Wombat. I thought we went to the technical at 13-8.
Coming out of the tech timeout, the team red.
No, it's 14-7, wasn't it? Was it? I think it's 14-7.
Oh, there we go. That's why they pay you the big bucks, mate.
Because I can count.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So it puts me at the top echelon in beach volleyball.
Oh, as that breeze just pushes that set really tight.
Tell you what, that's
that'll be 4 and a net touch to boot for Steph Wheeler there.
That was not a bad first or second touch by Steph, though.
Not terrible. I think the wind's just starting to play a little bit more havoc. Just really not consistent, and that's the issue.
Yeah, I think you're right. If it was a consistent breeze, you'd get used to it. You'd know where you can.
Or as that just drops like a stone onto the baseline. Interesting to note that we are playing with the older Mikasa balls and not the new ones. That has been played with internationally at the highest level on the World Tour. And there is a fair difference between the two balls. The older balls are definitely a lot easier to play with in the wind than the new ones and float less, but do drop like stones when you can get the ball right.
There's also red on the new ones.
There is red on the new ones. And they've got little dimples. which really makes it quite hard to jump serve when you're sweaty, and I'm a profuse sweater. I think Damien Sherman can attest to that.
You think the dimples make them harder to jump serve when you're sweaty?
It slips out of your hands really quite easily.
First world problems.
Oh. Chris McHugh problems.
That's a really nice little shot. Seeing the open court, just having a quick look up and shooting into that open space.
I think she saw Lucy just kind of edge into the cut angle and just went, thank you very much, easy one down the line. I mean, that's bread and butter for a player of this caliber.
And then follows it up with an ace. Taryn Angermeyer just wanting to turn it up a little bit, getting her team back in.
It's a little sniff here at 13-16. And another point or two here, and I'm sure that we'll draw a timeout from the opposition. Oh, good dig.
Oh, it's a great dig.
That's a great dig. Unfortunately, Taryn just couldn't quite get there for the second contact, but I think they've finally started to settle in and find their space that they need to play well at.
That ball just drifting a little bit tight again.
Oh, the old, what is now commonly referred to as the Ludwig, the over-on one, when the opposition is still not in position and you have an opportunity just dumping it into the open court deep.
I think we're in Glenelg, so it'll always be referred to as the Bo Soderberg here.
Bo Soderberg no longer resides in South Australia. I think I'd like to call it the Danny Hellman.
Danny is now the type of player that would get up and jam that ball.
I have not seen Danny Hellman play for a while.
He made it through qualification, made main draw.
One of the stalwarts of South Australian beach volleyball, and one of the all-round great guys.
Correct. His partner, unfortunately, shout out to Will Beschler, who actually went down crook in the lead up to this event. So Danny Hellman, knowing every beach volleyballer in the country, made a quick phone call to Gareth Mann, who is a New South Wales player, and flew him in last minute to replace him.
Oh, that's a great swing, high, hard and deep from Steph Wheeler to bring up 18-14. Just stem the bleeding a little bit after dropping a couple of points. Sends Lucy back to the baseline.
And we're 18-14, so the ladies in blue only 3 points away from getting their name etched into the history of the SA Open.
And what a history of the SA Open it has been. We've had Olympians, world champions on that trophy, and I'm sure over the next few years there'll be many more to come.
I'm sure there will be. Just missing that sideline, 19-15.
15, serving, 19.
Sending Taryn back to the baseline here. It'll be interesting to see if they switch it back to Lucy from the good end.
I think she liked that line serve. Yeah, she goes after it again.
It's a tight set. Oh, she's dealt with that amazingly well. That was a very tight set to knuckle it deep. Rainbow jumbo shrimp over the top of the defender.
And that's something Lucy's always been good at. She's got the ball on an absolute string to those back corners.
I think it's the most underrated skill, being able to jumbo somebody. It's something that I've never done in my life. It's not in my repertoire.
2015, we've got gold medal points.
Oh, Steph Wheeler just bats that ball over for set and match point. SA Open
I'm going to say
champions.
Gross way to win, but it's a way to win nonetheless.
Whatever works, whatever floats your boat.
So Steph Wheeler gets her name on the trophy for a third time, but this time she is joined by Lucia Mikulovakova and runners-up Taryn Angermeyer and Lucy Sarova. Fantastic tournament by them. They made their way all the way through the main draw, all the way through to Super Sunday. Had a good win this morning in their semi-final, just not able to match it with the domination of Steph Wheeler. And I think, Chris, really dominant performance from our team in blue.
Oh, it's an absolute clinic, I would say, their Wombat. Nothing against Taryn and Lucy, but Steph Wheeler just came and dominated that game, and Lucia played a handy role there on the court there, siding out. But when somebody's playing that well, there's not really much you can do about it.
No, that's exactly right.
And so that brings us to the men's, as the men come out to warm up for the Open. I'm really intrigued about this game, mate.
Yeah, I think it should be a fantastic, cracking game. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of a break as we adjust this net height, and then in about 20 minutes we are going to get this men's game underway. So I hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the women's gold medal game of the 2024 Pelligra Open. Please join us back in 20 minutes as we join you and bring you the action for the men's gold medal game. Thanks for tuning in.